Welcome, everybody, to First Friday Club with Lily Shearer. We're delighted that you've joined us today for the final event in our online First Friday series this year. My name is Lou Garcia-Dolnick, and I'm the Membership and Administration Officer here at Writing New South Wales. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is being transmitted and recorded, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We also extend this acknowledgement and respect to the traditional custodians of all the peoples on whose lands you're joining us from. In these unprecedented new set of circumstances we've all found ourselves in, it's especially important now as ever to honour the knowledges, learnings and storytelling traditions of First Nations people, as well as recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. This was and always will be Aboriginal land. We're especially excited to hear on whose lands you're zooming from and invite you to let us know via the chat box on the bottom of your screen. When you open the chat box, you'll also notice that we've included a handy list of tips and instructions for using Zoom. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, we invite you to do so via the chat as well. We'll be taking all your questions and presenting them to Julia to ask Lily during the Q&A at the end of the event. Please feel welcome to chat to your fellow attendees and incite conversation throughout the discussion. You'll be muted for the whole event to ensure the best possible sound quality. Let us know via the chat if you're having any trouble hearing our speakers or are having any technical issues, and we'll do our best to help you out. When in doubt, the best possible solution is to exit the Zoom meeting by clicking Leave Meeting at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and clicking on the link to this meeting again. To see our speakers, toggle your screen to Speaker View in the top right-hand corner of the Zoom window. To see all other attendees, toggle your view to Gallery View. We recommend you stay on Speaker View for the entirety of the event. I now welcome Writing New South Wales Program Manager, Julia Tsalis.
Thank you, Lou. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm joining everybody from Gadigal land. I'm in Marrickville, and to pay my respects to the traditional custodians here on Gadigal land and on the lands that you're joining us from. Today, we're joined by Lily Shearer. Lily is a proud citizen of the Murruwai Republic and the Niemba Nation, which is in northwest New South Wales and southeast Queensland. She has over 30 years experience in First Peoples cultural development, arts management, and in theatre and performance making. She's been instrumental in the development of and creative support for Indigenous community arts and in forging links between Indigenous and non-Indigenous companies such as Performance Space, Urban Theatre Projects, Carriageworks, Pact Youth Theatre, Legs on the Wall, and that's just to name a few. In 2016, she was awarded the Australia Council's highest honour, the Ros Barrow Award, in recognition of her contribution to community arts and cultural development. Lily is co-founder and artistic director of Moogahlin Performing Arts, which is based in Carriageworks in Redfern. Welcome, Lily. We're delighted to have you joining us today.
Well, thanks, Julia. I am so excited to be here, and I'd like to acknowledge the territory and the land I'm on. The country I'm on is the Yuin country down here on the south coast of New South Wales at the beautiful Uncle Arthur's place at Bundanon Trust. Thank you, Uncle Arthur.
And it's lovely to see you in situ with the space behind you and hear the birds, see the trees. It's a perfect way to be joining us.
Beautiful.
So you're in Bundanon on a residency with Moogahlin.
Yes, we've been here since Tuesday. We arrived Tuesday, and we're exploring women's stories of serpent and water. As water reflects us human beings, it's 80% of the land formation around the world. It's 80% of our body makeup. What are the stories we carry in our dilly bags about serpents and water, and water connects us? So we're working with a company from Nipissing First Nations, an Anishinaabe woman and a Mi'kmaq woman, from a company called, I've got to get my tongue around it, Angmaktagzi company, and who have a beautiful studio called Big Medicine Studio. So we've been in meetings our morning, their evening yesterday. And yeah, it's just been wonderful. It's just been so great.
And how, so you're in residency in Bundanon with your Moogahlin people,
Mm-hmm.
but, and normally though you would be working in person with the company that you're collaborating with, but in these
Yes.
circumstances, I imagine it's all happening via Zoom, as is everything these days.
Yes. We just had a big 2.5 hour, bit overtime, sorry, Zoom meeting this morning. Yeah, it was fabulous to share stories and in this time of untraveling and unrest for a lot of people. Yeah.
And do you think that this change in the way that you're developing the work will change the actual work?
No, not this piece in particular, because my dearest friend and colleague, Dr. Lisa Marie Siren, who's also leading this project as a Mooglyn co-founder and our senior artistic associate. We don't want to make a theatre piece about this. We want to be able to make something that like water is immersive. We immerse ourselves in water every day when we jump in the shower or the bath, you know. So we want this piece, whatever it's going to be an immersive experience, to be able to see things and hear things and feel things, and yeah, touching out not only our emotion but our intellect and our spirit and our physical bodies. So yeah, we really wanted to be an immersive experience of this new work.
And so do you think that that would mean that it would need to be a work that's in person? That, like, would you need to wait until it can be done in place and in person?
Yes and no, because we're exploring what that virtual immersion could be like. It might be a set of instructions for you to be on your land. We might send something to certain parts of the countries here and Turtle Island, Canada. We might make things that are in place for a little while and people can participate, and then it moves, it gets a deep clean, and then it moves. Yeah, we don't know yet. This is our second development. We did a week last year and we're doing a week again this year. So it's nothing, it's one of those projects we don't want to rush. And because it's about Serpent, our great creator of all our land formations here in Australia, for me, my people, Mudawari people, we call it Mundagara. And my Nimba people, an hour away from each other, call it Wawi, call it Wawi. So our Rainbow Serpent created all that we enjoy today in Australia, all our landscapes, our waterways, our mountains, our hills, our valleys. So it's really important to take our time and treat it with sacredness that it is. And we were just discussing that the one thing, we all have different stories of the Rainbow Serpent, but the one thing we do all come back to as First Nations people in this country is that he's asleep or she's asleep somewhere in our river, waiting for our country to be at its lowest ebb, to be awoken again by the Creator, by our Creator, to recreate the land formation of this beautiful country we now call Australia. Yeah.
Fabulous. I so will be looking forward to seeing that piece in the time that, whatever time it takes to unfold it.
Absolutely. And I should add that we're so excited at this early stage of our development to be able to be collaborating with the wonderful Yuan woman, Brenda Gifford, who is one of Australia's leading composers right here, right now, and came through the Mooglyn, is an alumni of the Mooglyn Partnership of Naraburia to here to see the Composers Initiative. So, yeah.
And is she with you now?
She's with us here right now. Yes.
Fabulous. I thought I'd take us. You've obviously already talked about your place, where you come from, and I think shifting the conversation to Brewarrina, your hometown, and the place that I mentioned this when we were talking yesterday. Every time that you talk about it, you just light up, and it's clearly a place of deep significance and joy. I think that yeah. Tell us about Brewarrina.
Well, I was born in Brewarrina. I was born and raised in Brewarrina, so my umbilical cord has never been severed from that country. My children were born on that country, my 3 children, and my 10 grandchildren are the first lineage of born off country, but I've ensured that their placentas have been buried facing the Blue Mountain, looking towards our country, in a beautiful little grove. So they know where they come from. It's a beautiful little place. It's got a population of around 2,000 people and district. Brewarrina means place where acacia clumps grow from the Nimba language, where we have the oldest human-made structure in the world, our fish traps. We have a museum that cares for the fish traps and gives tours of the fish traps every day, 4 times a day. We have so many sites that Biami has created that are all connected to one another. So the song lines of that country are really strong, from the rock pools of Byrock to Mount Gundabooka to Narran Lake to Colgoa National Park out of Murrawarri country, my father's people. That are all connected and interwoven with stories and spirit. There's so much spirit in those places. It's you can feel it, you can hear it, you can smell. It's just, I love being home. That's where I go on Tuesday.
Oh, great.
Back home.
Oh, fantastic. But to build, I don't know whether career is the right word, but to go on to do the things that you wanted to do, that required you leaving home.
Oh, absolutely. I left home at a very young age. I was 11 turning 12 in 1976. So you do the math, how old I am. I cried to my granny and grandfather, my first parents, who looked after me and raised me while my mum and dad were working, to send me away to boarding school. You only get pregnant if you go to the Brewarrina Central School. So I thought at that age. What I know now, I sort of feel really stupid thinking that and saying that back then. However, they rallied my parents, and I was honoured and I had the opportunity, so grateful and privileged, to attend boarding school at St. Scholasticus College at Glebe. And my granddaughter has just started year 12 there this term. So that's an exciting legacy too, that family members are still choosing to go to St. Scholasticus. And I wasn't stolen or taken away. So I had the wonderful life of getting a good education so I could invert it and turn it all upside down to suit my cultural aspirations and my cultural beliefs and values. And that's what I've been doing for the last 40 years next year. 40 years since I left the dance theatre. So I used to run away from St. Scholasticus around the corner to Rosebank Drive to visit the Aboriginal Islander Skills Development Association Dance College, which is now NAISDA. So when I left boarding school, it was only fit that I go to NAISDA. I'll go to AIDT, which is now NAISDA. So And my daughter keeps reminding me, oh my gosh, Mum, you're getting old. It's 40 years since you were at AIDT, but next year. And I said, yeah, okay, you don't have to remind me. And you're the one who owns 7 out of my 10 grandchildren, so you need to stop. That's enough.
Well, I'm sure they all bring a lot of joy, though.
Oh, absolutely they do. Absolutely. Yeah. I've got her twin granddaughters back in Brewarrina with me going to St. Patrick's, my old school, right as we speak. So that's really nice. Mum and I are loving having them home. Little Nan, I'm Little Nan and Mum's Big Nan. So we've got the twins, the 7-year-old twins, attending St. Patrick's School in Brewarrina at the moment, and it's so delightful. It's so wonderful to be able to share that knowledge and that cultural upbringing that I had with my grandchildren. It's so wonderful, and their appreciation of the fish traps, of the nunu, has just grown over these last few weeks. And we also do a festival every year. Moogahlin does a festival annually on the banks of the Barwon River, overlooking Bayami's nunu, the creator's fish traps, to bring about enlightenment and knowledge of the ancient fish trap, to bring about awareness of the natural landscape and the quality and quantity of water that we have in it, which is poor, the damage that cotton farms and almond farms and rice farms are doing to the Murray-Darling Basin, and to particularly our nungu, our fish traps. So, and to also inspire our storytellers and artists in Brewarrina to join those conversations and make work about their connection. And 9 nations gathered at the nunu. So I refer to it as our landscape parliament. That's where our people used to gather to talk about law, how to exchange and barter goods, because not everyone has all the resources. Nimba people have some of the resources, Murawari, Yalii, Wahawan, Barrambinja, Kuma, Barkanji. We all have our own resources, but somebody else has got resources that we need as well. So it was a place where we shared resources, we arranged marriages, we celebrated deaths. There's no way, if a Murawari person passed away at that site, would we travel them? It's an hour's drive, so imagine how much walk that is to carry dead weight back to be buried. So there's a burial site across the river. If people died during ceremony, then they were buried together across the river from the site. So it's a really significant place to us. Our ochre beds are there as well. So, it's so fun seeing the kids go down there and getting their ochre to get painted up before the festival opens for the opening ceremony. It's just, and inviting all those other dance groups from around the region that are connected to the nunu, come use our ochre,
And I didn't realise until visiting the fish traps myself that I knew they were significant because they're the oldest man-made structure on Earth, and I knew that from breeding dark emu how amazing that structure, the way that it worked, sort of in a practical way, and I appreciated that, but I didn't understand until I went there what an extraordinary place of meeting and sharing it was, and that all those different tribes came together and shared the fish and used that as an occasion to come together, which that's not a physical thing, but that's the fact that people operated on that scale so cooperatively is as profound as the physical structure?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely profound. And remember, they don't all speak the same language, but what we're learning is that there was a common language when they came for ceremony and law, LORE. When they came for those gatherings, which was when the fish, when the river is turning cold. So in our autumn, that's why I picked April, because the water's starting to get cold, the fish are running, there should be plenty to eat, but we lack a lot of fish in the river these days because of all that blue-green algae and mostly cotton farming, sucking the life out of the river, which is our blood life. That's we depend on it. Fish, mussels, yabbies, the catfish are gone, the black brim are gone. We're lucky to have yellow belly and the Murray cod still around. So we value and we want to advocate and speak on behalf of our river because unfortunately it can talk but nobody listens because it doesn't have a mouth and speak English. So we have to advocate on its behalf. So yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. As much as the festival is advocating on behalf of place and of people and of culture, it seems that for you in setting up Mooglyn Performing Arts, that that's also what you were doing in setting up that Indigenous theatre company as a way to support and amplify and find a place for First Peoples' voices. Tell us how it's very particular the way that when Mooglyn was set up in 2007 and the legacy that you were carrying in starting Mooglyn.
Oh yes. God rest his soul, from this country that I'm sitting on, a Walbunja man from the Walbunja clan, Uncle Kevin Smith, was setting up Mooglyn Theatre with Redfern Community Centre, and he'd passed away and it was sitting dormant. And Tracy Duncan approached me. I was working for Performance Space at the time. She approached me in 2006 would I be interested in setting up this company? And I said, oh yes, but that's a big responsibility and I need people to do that with me. I couldn't do that on my own. And then I met, in 2007, I met Fred Copperwaite. I co-produced a play that he was doing by Mary Ann Sam called Lessons in Flight at Darlinghurst Theatre when they were in the Cross. And then we working with PAC to do Gathering Ground and Redfern Community Centre. And then Dr. Lisa Marie Siren was working and teaching at Eora College of TAFE. She was teaching the musical theatre course there. And she said, oh my gosh, you're not doing this without me. And I said, no, come on. So the three of us worked, and her uncle, Uncle Brian Siren, who was one of my teachers when I was at the Aboriginal Islander Dance Theatre for drama, we talked about that. We talked about Uncle Bob Mazza and Uncle Jerry Bostock and Uncle Lester Bostock, all those amazing Auntie Justine Saunders and Auntie Kath Nunaka Walker, all those beautiful old ancestors who were fighting the good fight of storytelling and sharing stories. And so we said, wow, we really need to do this properly and with dignity and cultural integrity and respect. And so we took our time. We got to know each other for 2 years before we incorporated. We discussed Mooglyn theatre and we didn't want to lock ourselves into one genre of performance. So we called ourselves Mooglyn Performing Arts. So I began. And yeah, it took us 5 years to make our first work, This Fell in My Memory, which premiered in Carriageworks in 2013. So we really were thoughtful and careful and pulled on each other's leadership skills and knowledge skills and Western cultured skills, of education and training. We pulled all that together and worked together as a collective, like our old people. Our old people never did anything in silos from the top down. They always did things in circles and made sure that community was included in the process. So I feel like that's why we're successful right here and now, but we also are going through a new structure, a change. Change is inevitable. Changes happened BC before Cook, and it continues to happen AC after Cook. Climate has always changed. This is not climate change, my people. This is human greed and global warming. Climate has changed from time immemorial. And so how do we maintain a collective model and build a platform for leadership, enable leadership opportunities for our creatives, for our storytellers in all art forms? And that's why I'm really excited to be the artistic director of Yellamundi Festival 2021. Yeah.
And so I'll give a potted history of Yellamundi for people who don't know about it. It's a festival that Moogahlin started in 2013, biannual, so it happened every 2 years to foster emerging First Peoples playwrights to develop new work. And it's had an extraordinary success rate in those works going on to be produced, like Kylie Coolwell's production went on to Sydney Theatre Company. The Weekend.
We picked that up. Yeah, we picked The Weekend up.
And that was at Sydney Festival last year.
Yeah.
So
The Visitors by Jane Harrison.
So did that come out of Yellamundi?
That was workshopped in the very first Yellamundi in 2013, and it was called First Contact back then.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So the Visitors was at Sydney Festival last year.
This year.
Oh gosh,
my God, I know.
Yeah, that feels like last year because it happened in person.
Yes.
And
Nathan Maynard's The Season.
And was that was at the Opera? That went on.
That was at the Opera House. So yeah, Taz Performs produced that with Performing Lines. Life's a Suitcase by Tessa Rose. Brownsmart presented that in Darwin. FIFO, that was in 2019. Fit In or Fuck Off by Melody Diarra Reynolds. That was in, that just opened in Galari in Broome with Galari and Yuri Arkin co-producing that. It had a opening and season at Subi Echo Studios in Perth in mid-October. Now it's playing in Broome, where the writer comes from. Skylab, A Brother's Wreck by Jada Alberts, which was in 2013 group as well. Belvoir picked that.
That was main stage Belvoir as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that is a remarkable. I mean, that's for Yellamundi. It's been running since 2013, so it's only had 4 iterations.
That's right. 4 iterations, 13, 15, 17 and 19. And remember too that we as blackfellas in this country, we haven't been playwriting. We've been playwriting for what, 45, maybe 48 years, not even 50 years yet since The Cake Man and Cherry Pickers and Uncle Jack Davis, you know, wrote his plays. It's not 50 years yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, look out, mainstream Australia, we're coming.
And we're delighted. Personally, I'm delighted.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a remarkable accomplishment and testament to the change that Moogahlin has been able to make. And as you said before, but you're still looking at how to expand what you're doing with Yellow Monday and change it. And this year you're going, this year is no 2021 next year. I'm just, you know, I've lost all basis for
time. What does it matter? What does it matter? The past, present and future is right here, right now, as we're speaking.
Yes, and I'm having trouble negotiating them a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, next year, 2021, I've started with that practice of dance in the creative industries ecology, and so I wanted to make sure that we're not leaving behind our old forms, the forms that our people have been telling stories, because Yellow Monday means storyteller in the Darug language. So we're not leaving behind our old forms. We're not forgetting about our old forms, that we continue to practice them and bring them forward with us. So that's music composition and dance choreography. So next year, Yellow Monday will have, and I can't tell you who the artists are yet, I'm sorry, but we'll have 2 playwrights, male and female, I can tell you that. We'll have 2 choreographers, male and female. We didn't plan this, it just happened.
That's amazing.
And composers, we've got a duo of women and a trio of men. We didn't plan it, that's how the panels worked out. We had independent panels. I facilitated the panels. I didn't have a say in who was picked. It was transparent. It was wonderful conversations on the panels. And this year too, we're offering all our participants who applied, all our applicants who applied to Yellow Monday, we're offering them a 1-hour Zoom mentorship with some really leading playwrights and artists from around the country. So, yeah, so we're very excited about that.
So you'll work with all of those artists to develop the works to a reading stage, and then they'll be presented
over 3 days.
Depending on the situation, in person, Zoom.
We've decided to have a virtual stream of all of them, regardless of whether we're all together in the one space at Carriageworks, or we have to be separated, because some are interstate, Melbourne and Brisbane and Far North Queensland. So whether we're all in the same space, we'll still stream. As well as be live. Might be delayed stream, but same with our panels. They'll all be streamed as well, and there'll be one panel that will be totally online, and we will, because we didn't want to lose our relationship that we've been building since 2015 in Yellow Monday. We didn't want to lose our Tri-Nations relationships, and so we'll have a Tri-Nations panel, which will be all in the digital space, in that virtual world.
So people will be able to possibly come along, but then definitely, whether they are able to get to Carriageworks or not, see the pieces on the performances online.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know from being to previous Yellow Monday festivals that it's a wonderful experience of getting to see multiple pieces. So it's a really, I mean, I highly recommend it as a just a fabulous introduction to new works and multiple new works.
Absolutely. And you know, as a punter, as an audience member, it's so wonderful to experience that. I didn't work on Yellamundi in 2019, so I could participate as a punter. I was producing The Weekend by Henrietta Baird, so we had 2 pieces in Sydney Festival that year. And it was so wonderful to experience it as an audience member, to have the conversations outside in the foyer about the works and celebrate those works. And to see the works then, if you're a presenter, producer, venue, to see the works picked up and fully produced, that's the icing on anybody's mud cake. You know, that's the icing that we all love, that we want to celebrate and share with all of Australia and indeed all of the world eventually, when we're allowed to, when Mother Earth opens the doors to let us move around again.
And it also, I as an audience member at Yellamundi, there's that feeling, I always have that feeling of, by being in the audience, to see these works in their early stage of development, you're sort of investing as an audience member. You by being there, you're investing in their future, and then when they do come to the main stage, even though you really had nothing to do with it, but it just feels like you do work in development.
You are witness to that work in development. You are witness to the start of that work, the very embryos of that work. It's so important to have these shared experiences with each other. To say, oh my gosh, wow, hasn't that really developed? And the storyline twists and changed, and having those conversations together as an ecology, because that's ultimately what we are. We're an ecology. We need to grow and move together and share these experiences together, witness these new works, support these sometimes first-time writers or composers or choreographers that, the world doesn't know about yet. So, and that's what I'm really excited about, the mixture of the old and the new in Yellamundi 2021. So.
Well, I'm once again, another thing I'm looking forward to. and let's hope that that's the one of the many good things that we have to look forward to in 2021.
Absolutely.
I'm going to open up for questions in a minute,
Sure.
so I just want to let people know about that. But before we go on to those audience questions, what's next for you?
What's next for me? After Yellamundi, I'm moving from artistic director to a senior artistic associate regional position, and which takes me back to my country. And because a lot of over the last, since 2015, I should say, since we started the festival in Brewarrina, a lot of the regional artists have been saying, Lily, it's time to come home and set up a cooperative. It's time for you. And I said, hell yeah, that's my dream. I said, I've been saving all what I've learnt for the last 40 years for the best community in Australia, the Brewarrina community. You can't beat them. The last 5 years, we've had 3 major films come out of Brewarrina. We've had the Literacy for Learning film, which has escaped my memory at the moment, but I'll come back to that. We've had Emu Runner, which world premiered in Canada, Turtle Island. We had Where Angels Gather Here, another beautiful family story film, feature film. In My Own Words is the one I'm trying to think of. about the Cuban Literacy for Life program. Cuba has the best literacy program for in the world for disadvantaged communities and third world countries. My cousin was the star of that film, Clarence Gibbs, in my own words, what's the beautiful woman director's name? She's Warwick Thornton's sister. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I'll think about that in a minute too.
We'll when we send out the follow-up email to the people, we'll include links to those.
Yeah,
films.
great.
I'm not familiar with them, and I would like to watch them.
Yeah, no, they're great films.
Okay, and so when you're looking at going back to Brewarrina and setting up the cooperative, what do you envisage that as?
I envisage that as a performing arts school from the cradle to the grave. It's a performing arts school for everyone to participate in all art forms, our ancient and our new, and it'll be a safe place where people can gather to share their visions, their stories, their ideas, their craft, their arts, whatever they're doing. We will welcome everybody. However, it will be managed by primary school children. They will be the governing body. They will be the secretary, the treasurers, the chairpersons. We will be dictated to, not dictated, we will be led by the little people, which is a program I worked on in Fort William, Scotland, when I did my British Council Accelerate program called Room 13.
Oh, Lily, that sounds amazing.
Oh, it is going to be amazing. Look out. Brewarrina's taking over Australia and the world.
I have no doubt. And with you there, it will be unstoppable.
We've just got some great storytellers out there. We've got some great artists.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go to the questions from people in the audience. So the first one we have here is, does Moogahlin ever collaborate with other First Nations performance companies, and are there any collaborations on the horizon for the company?
I suppose we've been doing it informally with the Tri Company, with Ilbidgery in Victoria and Yuriarkan in Perth. We always make sure that there's an inclusion in collaboration on Yellamundi, whether they be directors or dramaturgs or actors or, there's a role for them to play. We're still developing what a tri-company project could look like. So yeah, we do want to do that. We're working with First Peoples from other countries on this project, on this Serpent Water Stories project. I collaborate a lot with the beautiful Alicia Talbot. We've had a long relationship since 2004, and we've done some Western Sydney partnerships with Blacktown Arts, and just before she went there, when Jenny Bissett was there, and Babayan Aboriginal Corporation, the women's group out there, and North St Mary's Neighbourhood Centre and TAFE. And we love collaborating and having Calico Catering.
I don't know them.
Doing all our functions. It's either Calico Catering or Aniberyl Vanuatu. We collaborate for catering our events. We love and we collaborate with people in the regions. We collaborate with the GLBTQI communities through Kurigra in Mardi Gras. led by Dr. Lisa Marie Siren. And I should say too, Yellow Monday came out of the National Indigenous Theatre Forum, the first one we had in Cairns in 2010. It was the #1 priority from the floor of artists from around the country. And mooglyn, Lisa Marie and I were there, and we put our hands up to do it. And then she went to Arts New South Wales, and I went to Gadigal Information Service, and we said, Fred, you've got to do it. We can't. Yeah.
And you did.
And he did. And it came with some conditions from the Australia Council to teach us a little bit about producing. So the wonderful Wendy Blacklock was our first producer of Yellow Monday, and we appreciate her legacy and are grateful for her teachings.
So there's another question here. Can you name some of the plays or performance work by First Nations artists that have been important to you in thinking about your own practice as artistic director of Moogahlin?
Oh, Battle of Waterloo.
Kylie Caldwell.
Kylie Caldwell.
Yeah.
Kylie Caldwell's Battle of Waterloo. Something that I'm really moved by, a work I'm really moved by, and I can't wait to see it, is a trilogy by Glenn Shay, who had 2 works at Yellow Monday. I think it was 2015 and 2017 in developing 2 works out of the trilogy. I'm really looking forward to seeing that next year. I'm really hoping, I mean, I know La Mama has picked it up and will present it as a trilogy. I just hope that we can move around the country to see it, or if not, they stream it. So there are works in progress. What other shows that have really moved and I've thought about to influence my practice? I'm not into straight theatre, really. To be honest, straight theatre, black, white, or brindle, really sometimes mostly bores me. I like things that are different and have I can go. Windmill Baby did that to me. That was a great show. David Milroy. I really got some moments in that. It's most of the old stuff out of the canon that I got wow moments. I think the new work that's coming out now is really. Oh, you lost me for a minute. Sorry.
Yeah.
The new work that's coming out now is really exciting. Like FIFO. Woo, wow, that was a great. The language. Donna McLaren's language piece that we had at Yellow Monday in 2019. I'm really interested to see if somebody picks that up. To produce that in the regions. So they're inspiring, and they make me look at my work and challenge my process and practice. And that was that company, Moogahlin Performing Arts. They did that really great show for Sydney Festival 2018 called Broken Glass. I'd love to see that in a gallery because that's what they made it for.
So Broken Glass is a performance that Lily and Lisa Marie Siron, Andrea
James, Aroa Groves, Brenda Gifford and Nancy Guevara did the music. Brenda composed the music, Nancy put it together. We made it for a gallery space. It's a performance promenade, in installation by day, performance in situ of an afternoon. And we made it for a gallery space, but we ended up doing it on the St. Bartholomew's Church and Cemetery site at Prospect, because Blacktown Arts Centre, they had the Blacktown Arts Prize happening in the centre, so we couldn't use the centre. And the wonderful Jenny Bissett found us the cemetery with the decommissioned church.
I mean, I know a gallery sounds fantastic, but doing it at a church in a cemetery is pretty fabulous.
Yeah, and that's what Jenny said when we had dinner with her here at Bundanon on Wednesday night. She said, "Oh no, it belongs in a church and cemetery." I said, "Oh, okay, maybe we can do it down here at Bundanon then."
Well, I hope so, because I too, that is a work I would like to see, and another really significant piece.
Yeah, it was a really healing piece of work, that one.
Yeah. So I've got another question. You talk a bit about being a connector between communities. What kind of things do you need to do to transmit knowledge between peoples and or the next generation of cultural collaborators? Who are some of the young emerging First Nations playwrights and artists you're excited about? You mentioned something else.
Wow, there's so many. There's a young woman from South Australia who's just left high school, and her name evades me right here, right now, but she does a children's show as well for a local TV station in South Australia. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name, but her work excites me. Delara Williams from Redfern. Her work excites me. I mean, we're only talking about her this morning. You know, she's a weaver, she's an actor, she's a visual artist, she's a playwright. She's just fantastic. Her work excites me. I love the work of, and to me, he's still he might be an older man, but he's still, to me, he's an emerging playwright, is Nathan Maynard. His work really excites me. I think you need a good 10 years body of work before you stop being emerging, but that's just my personal professional opinion. I love the work, and she's a professional. She's not young, she's professional, but I still get inspired by her work, and she inspires the younger generations. This woman inspires younger people, and that's Ursula Jovich. Ursula Jovich just, the way she works on her own works and in collaborations, she's just an inspiration to old and young. And that's how I facilitate my work in community. I have the old people, the middle-aged people, the young people, and the babies, all from the cradle to the grave in the process as listeners or watchers, as witnessing our work, our process, or as participants, or as leaders, or as knowledge keepers, knowledge holders. Language speakers. I've fallen in love with the AECG's New South Wales Aboriginal Education Consultative Group's new app, the language app.
So tell me the language app, say the name again.
The New South Wales Aboriginal Education Consultative Group, AECG, have got a new language app out for New South Wales, and my grandchildren and I are in love with it. When they're bored and I'm in them and they're around and I'm having a conversation, like, "Oh, can we have your phone to go on the language app, Nan? Little Nan?" I said, "Yeah, sure, here it is." Only time they're allowed to use my phone.
Well, good for a good value. We'll include a link to that.
I just thought of Ellen Van Neven. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. She's another young person that inspires me. I love her writing, her books, her play, Swim. It's next level, the young one. Tara Winch too. I like Tara Winch's writing. She's not really young anymore, I suppose, but she's read. I don't
Yeah.
know, just really, yeah, they really
It's-
inspire me.
And
And I
it-
love the kids at Wilmaringle Public School. I have to say this, I'm Murrawari country. They are the most animated storytellers, and they know how to share different parts of the stories and when to chime in. It's like they've rehearsed it. And they have you sitting on the edge of your seat going, wow. So, yeah, look out for those kids that are coming out of Wilmaringle Public School. It only goes to K to 6, and there's probably about 12 students in the whole school. But look out for them as they get older. Yeah,
wow.
they are fantastic storytellers.
And those Brewarrina kids who are going to be
Oh,
bossing you all around out there at your school.
I
They'll
love
to
it.
be reckoned with.
I love it. I know I had one little girl come up to me and go, Auntie Lil, in the shopping centre, Auntie Lil, is it true that you're teaching up at Gadooga Public School to the girls? And I said, yeah. Why? And she said, you're our dance teacher, not theirs. And I said, I belong to yous all. I've got a connection with all of yous. And she said, oh, it's not fair. Why aren't you teaching? Oh, so I said, mate, next year,
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be back again with Bree next year. Gadooga and Wilmaringle need to have a little bit of me too.
Oh, Lily, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your time and yourself with us now when you're on residency. You have endless numbers of amazing projects that you're involved in. I deeply appreciate that you've made time to have this conversation with us, and you're a force to be reckoned with, but in your, like, not chopping down the trees or blowing down the trees, but in the way that you bring people together, bring ideas together, bring different peoples together. You're an extraordinary woman, and I'm so grateful that you're here now.
Oh, thank you so much, Julia. I'm really grateful and honoured to be talking with New South Wales writers. I think you do a fabulous job. I've always been a fan. I used to love the gatherings curated by Kathy Craigie. And hopefully one day that'll happen again. And we keep on having these conversations.
Yeah.
These conversations are important to all Australians. We need to move forward together. We need to own what happened in the past with the invasion, removal and assimilation, what I call the IRA, and find a way to celebrate our differences and stop competing and forge a way to the future for the next 7 generations of our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, Lily. Deep, profound thanks.